Well, good morning. This is the 2025 Honda Hornet 1000 and I think it might be the bargain of 2025. So in this video I'm going to take it for a first ride, give you my first impressions, tell you the things I like about it, the things I dislike about it and whether you should buy one. So let's hop on and go for a ride. Alright, so here she is, the first time getting on it. Nice TFT dash. It actually sounds quite spicy. Let it warm up for a second. So I got the heated gloves on. It's quite misty today and quite cold still. It's the middle of winter. 9 degrees Celsius today at the max. Let's see. Alright, so immediately very Honda, very easy to ride. My visor's getting all fogged up because I forgot my pin lock. But yeah, just straight up, hop on and just ride away. So easy, even though this is an old Fireblade engine, 1000cc, 155 horsepower motorcycle. It's really easy. And it sounds quite good. Yeah, it's nice and relaxed actually. It doesn't feel too Firebladey, the engine. Really nice and smooth and easy. Wow, it's foggy outside, holy shit. So first off, we'll get out of the city, go on the highway for just a little bit. And then we'll find a twisty road, see how it handles there. Talk about the pricing on this bike, which I think is maybe actually the most interesting part. Oh, that quick shifter down is nice. And then finally we'll round it off with a little bit of town riding and my conclusion. Okay, first, second. Use the clutch. Quick shifter down is very nice. Quick shifter up, at city speeds, not quite convinced yet. I think the CBR 600R was a little smoother around town. Maybe because it's the Fireblade system, I don't know, but not quite as smooth as I'd expect from Honda. Smooth airflow, that's nice. Not much turbulence or anything. Engine feels really nice. Smooth, but still some character to it. And one of the reasons I'm so interested in this bike is the fact that it has a super sport derived engine. So unlike something like the MT-09 or the Z900, which are its main competitors, I always feel those engines a little bit lacking. I mean, they have a nice amount of torque, but they're always so smooth and so refined because they are, of course, street engines, you know, they're supposed to be. But on the race derived engines or on the race derived bikes, I find they have a little bit more character, a little bit more rough, and that makes it more fun to ride at street legal speeds, to me at least. So out on the highway over here, perfectly acceptable. No turbulence, engine is very smooth. More than enough rolling power, of course. Yeah, it's nice. Whoop. Tires actually feel pretty good in this cold weather, cold, slippery, wet weather. But again, that quick shifter doesn't like the low RPMs. Yeah, nicely balanced. And this is the SP model. So this is 14K. You get the, what is it? Öhlins TTX rear shock. You get some Brembo dilemma calipers. A radial master cylinder, but that's on the stock bike as well. I mean, I'm not gonna feel the difference between the stock model and this SP, to be honest. Not today. But it is lovely though. Nice and supple, not too firm, not too soft. And this has 5 peak horsepower more because of a valve in the exhaust, which the stock model also does not have. But again, are you really gonna notice that? One nice addition is the quick shifter, which comes as standard on the SP model, but it's an option on the base model. I would probably option that. GoPro stopped working again. I'm just gonna leave it. Next video you see of mine is gonna just be filmed on all DJI cameras because I am done with this crap. So in town it felt typical Honda, very easy to ride. And on this twisty road, it feels very Honda, surprise, surprise. Gives you so much confidence, even in these wet, greasy conditions. Of course I'm not pushing it at all, but it's not like on an MT-07 for example, where it feels all wobbly. Oh yeah, good sound. The sound is a bit more raw than you might expect. And again, I think this has to do with the fact, oh yeah, that it's an ex-Fireblade engine and not a street developed engine. So yeah, so far so good, to be honest. Ooh, little gravel. Ooh, yeah. Okay, let's pull over here and I will talk about the looks. So what do you all think of the way this thing looks? My opinion is that overall it doesn't do really anything that's differently or anything to make it stand out. It feels like a little bit of an amalgamation between a Z1000 and a Ducati Street Fighter, and yeah, just a couple of different Street Fighters thrown together. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, Honda played it a bit safe, but it looks really nice. It's got a really nice stance to it. The way it's like kind of sloped forward. And if you look at it like this, it looks really mean. The only thing that does bother me is the fact that these rims, these front forks, the decals over here, and the Öhlins rear shock are pretty much all a different shade of gold/bronze. So yeah, that feels like a bit of a missed opportunity and doesn't make it feel like one cohesive package. But other than that, yeah, I really like the way this thing looks. Now please do leave a comment below what you think of the looks of this bike, because yeah, I think it's interesting. Do you feel like Honda played it too safe? Like they've copied too much of other designs? Or are you in my camp where you think that's not really a bad thing and it looks pretty nice actually? And I will say, this thing looks a lot better in real life than it does on the pictures. On the pictures the proportions might seem kind of off, but in real life it just does have a really nice stance to it. So that being said, let's hop back on and keep on riding. Okay, so honestly, if you do any amount of winter riding, like I used to do, commuting full time on a bike, get yourself some heated gloves or some heated grips, because they are honestly just the best thing in the world. Now, let's continue. See if we can find some fuel somewhere. And come on. Yeah. See if we find any downsides to this bike. Riding position wise, it's perfectly what you'd expect. The seat is quite squishy but comfortable. Handlebars are just in the standard position. The room is about average for a naked bike, so Honda's probably taken another middle ground here, just like with the styling, and just looked at all the competitors and thought, okay, let's draw an average from all of this, because that seems to work, and then it feels like that's what they ended up with. And riding about 20-25 minutes so far, that's just kind of the whole vibe of the bike. Where typical Honda version, they have great build quality, and with this bike especially, the base version in Holland is 12 grand. I will touch on that a little bit later on why I think that's just an absolute bargain. But it feels like Honda has just put it smack dab in the middle of everything, price wise, technology wise, riding position wise, styling. Did I just mention that? Oh, this road, it's got some cracks. But so far, riding it like this, it's not really pulling at my heartstrings that much. And that part of the reason for that might be the fact that it feels kind of average in everything, and it is so easy to ride, and yeah, just not blinking, just not standing out in any real meaningful way up this far. And I'm probably also not the target audience of this motorcycle, because I'm not a customer for a Z900 or an MT-09 either. And if you are one of those customers, I do feel like this bike is a really interesting buy, because the price is really in the middle of a Z900 and MT-09. But the main difference is that this thing has a Fireblade engine. It's a 2017 Fireblade. Derived engine, I mean, it is retuned for torque and streetability and all that stuff. So it has 150 horsepower in the stock model. And this SP model has 155 horsepower because of the valve in the exhaust. And if you compare it to an MT-09, which is around 120 horsepower, or a Z900, which is a little bit more than that, 155 horsepower is nothing to be scoffed at, you know, that is quite a lot. And price-wise, it slots nicely in between the Z900 and the MT-09. So a Z900 in Holland is 11,200-ish, and an MT-09 is 12,800. And this is, the base model is 12 grand right on the money, just 12 grand. And this SP version is 14 grand. But for 2K you get, like I mentioned before, the nicer front forks, the Öhlins suspension, 5 more horsepower, quick shifter as standard. So I do think that's really good value for the SP. But especially in the Dutch market, where 14 grand for a mid-range naked bike is quite a lot of money, I think the base model is going to be really where it's at, because you get pretty much the same power, still probably decent suspension and brakes, and yeah, you're not going to feel the difference between the fancy stuff and the basic Showa and Nissin stuff on roads like this, in conditions like this. Especially to the average rider, you know, it doesn't make that much difference. And you get to save 2 grand. So yeah, in total 12,000 euros for a bike with 150 horsepower, full electronic suite, TFT dash, quick shifter optional, but you know, just get that because modern bikes like this are pretty much supposed to have them. And yeah, I think you're rocking, because Z900, really good bike, really solid, really affordable as well. But just pay 800 euros more and get this and have, what is it, 120, like 20 horsepower more out of the factory. And Honda build quality is really good, you know, reliability is excellent. So yeah, that's pretty much why I think at least the stock bike of the Hornet is just a really good buy. Unfortunately, the dealership only had this SP model to try, but again, probably not gonna notice much difference. Okay, so any downside so far? While thinking about it, the quick shifter actually so far feels like the old thing out, and I'm always pretty critical of quick shifters. So yeah, I don't know, I'm not easily pleased. But the quick shifter on the CBR600RR, so another Honda model with a super sport engine, was excellent. Like really smooth, low RPM, high RPM. It sounded really nice. So I know Honda can do it, but on this bike it just doesn't feel quite as smooth. And riding away from the dealership, first to second, it missed the gear. It just went into neutral. So yeah, it doesn't give me that much pleasure or confidence as it did on the CBR. But so far, to be honest, objectively, I don't know, I don't think there's much to dislike about this thing. Honestly. Bikes these days are getting so good, and it was the same on the MT-09. I rode it on the same exact road, and objectively there's just not much to criticize. They're so smooth, so powerful, so refined, so usable. It just literally does everything you could want of a motorcycle. Is that a downside? Again, objectively I don't think it is, but I think it's an interesting conversation, you know. It's the same way the car market is going these days, where cars and motorcycles are just so good in general, where I feel like they're losing a lot of character. And in the car scene, you know, with like the new BMW M products, a lot of people are saying like, oh, they're not real M cars, and that's another whole debate, of course, but at what point do you lose the essence of what makes your product special? So yeah, if you guys have an opinion about that, please let me know, because I think it's a really interesting conversation to have. And although I feel like motorcycles are always quite a way behind the car industry, like we're usually 5 to 10 years behind with electronics and just the whole philosophy and the process of the way these things get built, But after riding this and the MT-09, I do feel like we're heading that way, where it's just all around, they're such good, almost perfect bikes, and it does everything you could want of it, but it just leaves me feeling a bit cold, you know? So yeah, when you're at a standstill, like this, it sounds really raucous and really nice bark. But once you get up and moving, it just fade away a little, and of course that's all due to the Euro regulations and stuff, but yeah, I think a slip-on on this bike would be perfect. Not too loud and not too quiet. I mean, people are probably gonna kill me for saying this, but I think this engine has more character than the MT-09. Especially the latest gen MT-09. It does just feel a little bit more racy, because you know it is. But that's fun. That's what I like. Just a little edge to it. Around town this thing is just perfectly pleasant. Honestly, nothing to complain about. Clutch is really easy to use, throttle is smooth, no herky-jerky action or anything. Handlebar is nice and wide, so you've got good leverage. Steering sweep, steering angle seems to be good. So, enough torque to get through traffic. So yeah, all in all, pretty good around town bike. Especially considering this thing has enough horsepower on tap. Yeah, pretty much what you'd expect for this genre of motorcycle. Yeah, really solid and yeah, just easy and nice. Whew. That gets the blood pumping. Yeah, so there was never a doubt that this thing would be fast, but yeah, it's fast. To be honest, I wouldn't call this a downside, but cruise control would have been nice. I mean, this thing is ride-by-wire. You have a lot of electronic doodads and stuff, so cruise control would have been nice. And I think the new 2025 MT-09 does come with cruise control as standard now, so yeah, I'm not sure if it's an option on this, but I would like it. Perfectly fine on the freeway, honestly. As far as naked bikes go, just fine, nothing wrong with it. Engine is really smooth, quiet, not a lot of buffeting. Seating position is pretty comfortable. It's not too upright, you're leaned forward just a tiny bit, so you're not getting pushed back by the wind as much. So yeah, honestly, not much to say other than that. Again, for a naked bike, it just yeah, does what you would expect. Nothing exceptional, but just, again, really solid. Right, so back at the dealership. Conclusion time for the 2025 Honda Hornet SP. Should you buy one? Well, this bike feels like an amalgamation of all of its competitors. So it sits really somewhere in between the MT-09, the Z900, all of those kinds of bikes, like riding position wise, price wise, even aesthetics wise. It feels kind of like a Honda just took a long hard look at all those bikes, took an average, and then this is the end result. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because especially considering the base model, as I mentioned before, is only 12,000 euros. I think it actually presents really good value for money. But of course, you have to be the judge of that. Go out and ride one yourself if you're in the market for this kind of thing. And yeah, let me know what you think. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below what you think of the new 2025 Hornet. And I'll see you in the next one. Ciao, ciao.